Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Patterson Report podcast. I'm Brandon, that's Ryan, and we're joined by an extremely special guest, friend of the show. It's got to be his third or fourth appearance so far because he brings the heat every time that he's here. So, everybody, welcome Aiden from Life of a Philly Fan. You can check him out on Twitter, both at Philly Fan Life and then at the Birds vs. Boys Pod on Twitter. To my knowledge, the only Cowboys and Eagles tandem podcast on the planet. So that's the only place you're going to get it. So you got to go to Aiden for that. But Aiden, thanks for being on, buddy.
Thanks for having me again. I think you're right. This is like the third time now. Couldn't be at a better time. The way that the Eagles are making moves. Morale was low for a while, but we're back. I just got back from spring training on Monday. Phils look good. Eagles are looking better. This is a great time.
Yeah, we're turning around. We're not going to mention anything going on in the Wells Fargo Center.
Oh,
no.
that doesn't exist. I have to mention, though, even if there was a Eagles and Cowboys podcast, you definitely had the longest running one if there was a Guinness World Record for that. Because they wouldn't last for like a week.
Yeah, when we started, it was supposed to be like a debate show where we would go back and forth. And then we started, I'm like, I kind of like this guy, even though he's a Cowboys fan. So now we kind of just agree on everything, which makes it a very funny kind of dynamic where you wouldn't expect us to agree very much, but we do. And it's been going for a few years now, so it's nice.
So you guys weren't like friends prior? Like you met through podcasting to do that show?
Yeah, we worked for the same blog, so I had met him in person before. We were doing types of content for them. Like we did a March Madness thing together, and I knew he was a Cowboys fan. We were on NBC Sports one time for like a trivia show, and the guy who was running was like, "You guys should do like a Eagles Cowboys show together." And we ended up doing it. And like I said, we were going to do a debate show, and it turned into this where it's just like a therapy session for both of us.
I think that's more interesting because everybody's got a debate show. Like I'm sick of First Take at this point. I can't do it anymore. So it's nice to see like a different spin on the same content over and over.
Yeah, definitely agree.
But right now, I haven't watched your latest episode, but right now I am sure you guys are a bit at odds because the Eagles are having the best offseason of anybody in the NFL this season and one of the best off seasons we've seen in quite some time. Mm-hmm. The Cowboys have made one move so far, but it's Howie's season and he's making all the moves. What have what's kind of been your thoughts of, getting off to a hot start, a little bit slow yesterday, and then kind of making another splash? What's your grade on Howie so far?
This is an A+ to me, and for a variety of reasons. Like the Saquon thing is awesome. I'm from Central PA originally. Half my family graduated from Penn State. Saquon was on our Christmas card with a family member one year. Like that's how close we are to the situation. So that alone,
Selinsgrove Grove guys. We went to
Selinsgrove, yeah. So so biased, I'd be like A. But it's not just the splash moves that they made. Like they make such smart between the margins moves. Like Matt Hennessy coming in and being a guard that you get for $2 million, who will be the sixth man on that line, has 22 starts, plays multiple positions on the line and center and guard. And both of your guards last year missed time. Like it's pretty predictable that your offensive line is going to miss time, and to have a backup of that caliber is great.
And you got a brand new center. Yeah. We all think he's going to work, but we don't know.
Exactly.
So you got an insurance policy there.
Yeah, we just think Cam Jurgens is going to be the heir apparent to the greatest center of all time. I'm very hopeful, but I don't know if it's going to work out like that. I'll be happy if he's 70% of what Kelsey was. So you're right. Like, that's a good backup plan. Like Devontae Parker. Is he a stud at wide receiver these days? No, but the Patriots are paying him more than the Eagles are. So it just makes business sense.
We're paying him 1.2, I think. 1.5.
Yeah, 1.2. I think he gets $4 million total, and 3 of it's from the Patriots. I'll take that any day. Why not? And his name's not Quez Watkins, so that's a plus.
You got that right. I mean, speaking of contract details, that Saquon contract, I'm just clamoring for more of these contracts come out because those cap numbers, like how he's just working magic out here.
Yeah, I love it. So they signed Devin White before we all went live. And I love the language where it's up to $7.5 million. It's not $7.5 million. It's up to
a lot of incentives in it.
Yeah, exactly. So he'll get, I guess, $2 million, and Kevin told me on our last show that he's getting 1.7 base. So I love the way 7.5 quickly becomes 1.7 when you're dealing with Howie Roseman.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you pull your weight and you're like, if you're the Devin White from 2020 when he kind of like came on the scene, then yeah, he'll get the full 8 and he'll be worth it. But if he's 2023 Devin White, we have all these contingencies in play. I mean, you'll be a vet minimum guy, and we'll let you go at the end of the season.
Exactly. And the way they take care of the players now, where they'll give them, the guys who are successful, they give them extensions, but those extensions often come to in signing bonus, and then it's not counting against your cap. So the way they do it is brilliant. I don't know how the NFL kind of allows this stuff to happen, but I'm not complaining.
Let those void years cook, man.
Exactly. Yeah. That's fake money. It is not
gone.
Yeah.
I mean, Bryce Huff already has 2 over the cap. I was looking, so like he already has the void years placed in. They just on the money yet. So
yeah, it's crazy. But and I think I want to get into the on the field stuff, but like I think one guy that doesn't get enough credit, where I mean, Howie gets plenty and he deserves all of it. But Jeffrey Lurie deserves a lot of credit for the way this team's run. Because when you look at the way they structure these contracts, like a lot of that upfront money is owner money. Mm-hmm. So I mean, he has to be willing to put that money up front instead of stretching out over these long deals where we see teams get crippled by the cap. Like Jeffrey Lurie kind of lets Howie be Howie.
Sorry, I had to throw the Panthers out there. They're getting crushed.
The Panthers are a mess. They are a train wreck. Yeah. The Jeffrey Lurie thing's interesting because of what's going on with Saquon. I think the Eagles are just a really well-run organization who are just in total control, top to bottom. Everyone knows their role, their responsibility, everything like that. And when you have guys, I kind of brushed it off like the Tiki Barber thing, but every day I see like a new complaint from the Giants about Saquon. Yeah. It's like, you guys got to start looking in the mirror. Why did he want to leave? Why was he allowed to leave? And you're sitting there holding the bag with Daniel Jones right now, and you didn't re-sign Saquon last year like you could have. And it's just, you're not well run. And I just think like a lot of teams need to do some looking in the mirror. And I'm very thankful that the Eagles don't have to. I don't think that's the case with every team in the city, that they are a well-organized, well-oiled machine. We just talked about Wells Fargo Center and what's not going on there. But
we'll get to
with
that
the Eagles, they're really well run. And it does start with Jeffrey Lurie.
Absolutely. No, Ryan, we'll get to your point in a second. But when you talk about letting Saquon go for Daniel Jones, he wasn't the only star really they had to watch walk out the
That's
door.
where I was going.
I mean, Xavier McKinney also walked out.
24-year-old safety. That's looking in the mirror right there. Like
he was my number one target for the Eagles. Like the day after the season ended, I was like, okay, what do they need? Safety was brutal. They're obviously going to cut Byard. Who should they get? Xavier McKinney, number one, like 24 years old, playmaker. He was blitzing nonstop against us that one game. I was like, this guy is everywhere. I feel like there's 3 Xavier McKinneys on the field
every 3 seconds.
So I thought that was a great signing by the Packers. I know it was a big price tag, but you're right. Like the Giants, you're a team that's struggling and you're letting a 24-year-old walk out the door? What are we doing? Like, you got to look inward. Don't be mad at Saquon.
No, but we got Saquon now. We lost out on McKinney, unfortunately, but we went and righted some wrongs, at least in my opinion. We haven't talked about this yet. We went back and got CJ Gardner-Johnson, back from Detroit. Should have never left to begin with. Now, obviously, look, there's a talent disparity there. I mean, Saquon Barkley is like a transcendently great running back. And, CJ Gardner-Johnson is, I would say, an above average to good safety. But I think it still begs the question of who's going to have the biggest on-the-field impact because of what we're coming from. So, like, if we're coming from a B running back to an A, you're going to notice, but how much? When you're coming from, like, a D- secondary to a guy who I believe had eight picks the last time he was on the field with us, like, where do you think we're going to see the biggest jump in efficiency, offense or defense, with those two moves?
Probably on defense, especially with CJ Gardner-Johnson. That safety position was such a turnstile where they started with Justin Evans, but then he got hurt. And then Terrell Edmonds was on the team, but they traded him and they brought in Kevin Byard, but that didn't really work out either. And Reed Blankenship got hurt at one point, twice actually. So you didn't know who was, like Sidney Brown. I wanted him to work out, but then he had to play nickel because Avonte Maddox got hurt. It's just a mess, a giant turnstile. So I think in terms of impact, you will probably see it from CJ Gardner-Johnson just because of it was rock bottom. It couldn't have gotten worse. So just by numbers alone, it's going to be better on defense. And I think, unfortunately, I think they are going to move on from Josh Sweat. So Bryce Huff immediately, He's an ascending guy. I like that they're trying to predict these ascending guys, and they did that with Josh Sweat originally. So I think he will have an impact as well. He kind of got lost with the Saquon news on the same day. And I think come, week 1, when we're in Brazil and it's hot and we're playing the Panthers or the Falcons or whoever it might be, you can just see Bryce Huff teeing off on Bryce Young. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm really glad we got that guy.
Yeah. Who do you think should be the one to go? Because one DN's leaving, and it sounds like we're not gonna lose both, which was kind of originally reported. If you're Howie, who are you making sure doesn't leave the building?
Hassan Reddick. The fact that just pay him. Yeah. It's easy for me to say. Again, I'm just spending their money nonstop. Every free agent they sign, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Spend it. But the Reddick thing, production value. He's up there with some of the biggest names in the league. TJ Watt, Myles Garrett. Like, what are we doing? Why are we letting this guy walk? I know he's on a team-friendly deal, which is part of the benefit of having him on the team. 3 years, $45 million is a steal for a guy like that. But yeah, just give him I know he's 29, but just give him the extension. Like, that's one guy I'm like, yeah, keep him around.
Where'd you land?
I agree.
Yes, a bit of a homer.
Yeah. Josh Sweat has that was the knee or the leg. I forget. It's something that was out of college. That's why I got drafted so late. Like
his knee. Yeah.
I think it's time to move on from him because you never know when that stuff kind of creeps up. We saw Todd Gurley out of the league by 26? So you never know when these things can pop up.
True. And they did a great job projecting on him, taking him in the 4th round, and they didn't think he could play 3 downs with that knee, and he ended up being able to do it. But you're right. Like, at some point that may catch up to him. So I think get ahead of it. And now you try your next ascending talent in Bryce Huff and get some trade value for a Sweat while he has it.
Yeah, I agree. I think Reddick's the obvious choice. I've been heard some things it's hard to substantiate how much of it's true, but there's been some questions internally about, Sweat's motor isn't the same that it was before he started to kind of ascend to where he is now. And you can kind of see it a little bit last year. He's talented, but he was never talented to the point where he had these elite moves, that one go-to move that no one could stop. He just would outwork the person across from him. So when you see his sack numbers start to drop and you're a guy who relies almost strictly on motor and effort, you start putting those dots together and wonder, is he the same guy? Is he as hungry as he was before he was due to get paid? But whereas with Hassan Reddick, you really can't draw those conclusions. He's consistently a double-digit sack guy. Rain, sleet, snow, it doesn't matter.
And he has that athletic burst. You talked about, certain moves for defensive ends or edge rushers. I think he'd probably have I know we use the term pop time with the JT Realmuto. I think the pop time for Hassan Reddick getting out of his stance and getting to the quarterback would be one of the best in the league.
Yeah, so that's a guy you don't let leave the building. While we're talking about guys who can't leave the building, unfortunately, 2 guys did leave the building that there's no free agent answer for. There's no draft answer for. There's going to be some big shoes to fill in the NovaCare complex this year, both on the field and the locker room. We talked about Jason Kelce leaving. Obviously, I'm sure he would love to be back. I'm kind of glad he's not wavering on it. I think it's better to just move forward. But losing him and losing Fletch at the same time is going to leave a leadership void, I think, and on an O-line that's been rock solid for as long as I can really remember, since Jason Kelce, not since Jason Kelce got, probably since 2016 or so, is kind of in flux for the first time in a long time. Who are you looking to see step into those roles, both leadership-wise and positionally?
So it's tough, right? I'm actually really worried about the leadership point of view. To have a fall off like that, now your coach is in question, whether that's fair or not, I don't know. But to have a fall off like that, and then 2 of your leaders, proven winners, proven guys in the locker room, retire, that is tough. I don't know if there is Jason Kelce is one of a kind in so many ways. I don't think that there is a natural replacement leadership wise to his personality. And Jalen Carter, I think, is an amazing talent. He's not Fletcher Cox. He's just not. And Brandon Graham has 1 more year to go. So this leadership void is going to continue next offseason too. So the obvious leadership shoes to fill is the quarterback, who I love.
That's not his style. It's never been.
Yeah, he's mute on the sidelines. It doesn't matter if they're up 20 or down 20. And I brought this up on the show. people were like, well, no one had a problem with his leadership style when they were winning. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But like when you're losing, sometimes you got to get on the guys and get on their ass and be like, yo, step this shit up on the sideline.
That's when you need leadership.
Yeah,
when you're
like,
losing.
they didn't need him to be a leader when they're playing the Steelers and Jason Kelsey's wearing a Batman mask and AJ Brown has 3 touchdowns and you're up by 30. It's everyone. It's easy to be a leader when you're winning like that. It's when you're playing in Seattle and it's pouring down rain and the game's on the line is when you really need them.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm going to hold you to that question. I'm going to need a name on offense and defense. Who you would like to see step into that role?
Hurts for sure in terms of leadership style and offense. In terms of on the line, Juergens will play center. I think there's some really good names in the draft. We're going to do another mock draft next week. Somebody who's kind of like a day 2, day 3 guy that I would really like to see them target is Zach Zinter out of Michigan. He like compound fractures his leg, which was gross in that Michigan-Ohio State game. Not a great replay, but it's caused him to drop a little bit. But I think he'll be a stud. If they could get him on the line talent-wise, that'd be awesome. On the defensive side of the ball, I hope Sidney Brown works out. I think he could be a good leader as well. The ACL tear scares me. I hope he's ready to go, but I think he could be like somebody who could step in and just seems like a likable character in the locker room.
That guard call out was good because we've seen Howie do it before with Landon Dickerson. He had that big injury right before he came out. So Howie's not prone to doing that. So
that's actually like the perfect parallel where Dickerson was, on a championship team, on a winning team in college. He won awards for how good he was. And then the only reason that caused him to drop was the season ending injury. Zinter was the same way. He was regarded as the best like center guard combo. He compound fractures his leg. They win the championship anyways. It's kind of the same arc as Dickerson was on.
Yeah. We love O-line. And we have 2 second-round picks too. So
thank you, New Orleans.
Could be the direction they go.
Really?
I think on the line, I would like to see. I think Jordan Mailata could be a guy who takes a step forward. You've heard a bit more from him. That too. He could literally
man.
That too. If he wants to sing about our problems, whatever. I don't care how the hell they do it. He can do interpretive dance for all I fucking care.
Yeah.
Just fix it. But I think he's like a Kelsey disciple. I think he's more outspoken than Lane. Like I love Lane, but he's like a lunch pail guy. He goes to work, does his job, and goes home. So I'd like to see Mailata take that role on offense on the line. I don't think this team is at its best when Jalen Hurts is the vocal leader. That's not him being who he is. I think somebody who might take that mantle, though, might be Devontae Smith. I mean, when you listen to some of the mic'd ups, it's not always like hard-hitting analysis, but he's doing quarterback-ish things. He's walking the sideline. He's keeping morale up. He's keeping it light. So he's somebody I would kind of like to see be, as vocal, but maybe a little bit more serious.
I like that a lot because you're right. I think he just has like a 100% approval rating in the locker room. Everyone just seems to like him. Everyone seems to kind of be trending towards him on the sideline. Like when you watch those mic'd up on the sidelines, it seems like everyone's sitting around him. Just seems like a likable guy. And it's easy, when the likable 100% approval guy comes up and says, we need more out of you, you listen. So I think that's a good one.
Yeah. Ryan, who we have a couple minutes before we're going to switch over. One guy on both sides of the ball who you think should step up to be more of a leader.
I mean, Jalen Hurts is the obvious answer, so we're just gonna, because you're right. We aren't our best when he is leading. I was gonna say Jordan Mailata just simply based off the fact that he got some pipes, man. You listen to him, and like you said, he's a Kelsey disciple. They did work on that album together. Okay.
Yeah.
I would like.
Well, he's an imposing figure too.
Because like
that too.
We know he's going to get someone else in that room, a highly regarded draft pick. We need him to lead and we need him to mentor this young corner. So I want him to step up and be a bigger leader this next upcoming season. So
Slay.
Yeah, Slay.
I'm going to need Slay to be a little less soft if he's going to start leading men.
I'm just saying, I need more from him. I want him to mold this eventual, probably late first, early second round corner into something great. And like, gotta be a leader.
I need Slay to like read the room once ever. Just read the room ever. Like he just doesn't.
No, it's bad. But before we switch over to the Sixers, we're going to hold both of you to what's one move you still expect is going to be made in free agency from Howie? Could be a name, could be a position group, with either one.
I think the obvious one is backup quarterback. They don't have one right now. I know they like Tanner McKee a lot, but I don't know if he's going to be their backup quarterback next year. And Mariota's obviously gone. Fun.
He got a raise. I don't know how.
Yeah, crazy. I don't know how that happened. The Commanders are doing interesting stuff. But yeah, the backup quarterback for sure. They tried to make a move for Joe Flacco before he signed with the Colts. Comeback player of the year, Joe Flacco, which is still very funny to me. So I know
egregious amount of money at 8.75.
Yeah, crazy. But I guess, like their quarterback, he got hurt in a month and was running like crazy. I think he got hurt twice in the span of a month. So I see why they gave him that money. But yeah, I mean, they're trying to make a move for backup quarterback, and it's obviously they need one. So I know they were linked to Tyler Huntley. I'd be in on that for sure. Yeah, so I know that's not like a splashy thing, but I think that'd be a very solid backup. And, I'd be okay with that one for sure.
All right. To Tyler Huntley, I'd be down with that. Ryan, what about you? Who's next to the door?
Oh, I don't know who it's going to be because I have to look at who's signing, who's not yet. But we need another linebacker. I know Devin White is here, but we need another one.
True.
Yeah. It can't be just him and Nakobe Dean. I mean, we didn't really get into Devin White, but I'm glad he's here. He's 26, still has some upside, but he's coming off 3 horrible seasons. So I'm really hoping. I mean, he's a reclamation project. He can't be the centerpiece of the linebacking core.
Yeah. But you do need depth because Nakobe was hurt twice. So even if you still believe in him, you still need a backup plan. So I think they do need another linebacker.
I agree. Well, the good thing is we're getting a little bit picky now. I mean, the Eagles are well afloat. They're in a great position. The national media is talking about how great Howie's doing. So everything is great in Birdland. But we do have to wander across the parking lot to our floundering friends in the Wells Fargo Center.
Can I stop at Xfinity Live first?
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to need a beer. Pour yourself a beer for this one.
I need to stop at Xfinity first.
We finally have a timetable for Joel Embiid. He's expected back the first week of April, which means that this team still needs to keep his head above water for almost 3 more weeks before he's back. Are they able to do it with what's in the building right now playing the way they're playing?
I mean, when you watch them, it doesn't feel like it, but they just have to tread water. Like if they could just be like 500 and Maxi's back, he had the concussion. So that helps a ton. Yeah. They are a brutal watch. It's not fun to watch right now. My poor mother and her friend, they watch every game, text back and forth. I'm like, you need to take like a mental health break from the Sixers because this is the long haul. You got to stop. Like they're going to kill you.
That Knick game, 78-73.
And they won. That was the best part. They look like they've got the Big East tournament in MSG right now. It looked like a game from there instead of an actual NBA game. It was crazy. I think they can stay afloat. I like this team when they're fully healthy, but they've just got to get fully healthy. Because it's not just Embiid. Like Melton's missed time, Covington, Batum seems to be hurt with something every month. But they just got to get the guys back. When they're healthy, they are a legitimate team. It's gonna suck for whoever has to play them in the play-in tournament because you're playing a legitimate playoff team. But they just got to get the guys back. They got to get them back.
I think this is the most complete Sixer team I can remember since the Redick, Butler, Tobias, Ben Simmons team. Like when Embiid was healthy, and obviously playing at an all-world level, but like Batum fit perfectly. Tyrese Maxey took strides. I'm a huge Kelly Oubre guy all of a sudden. I mean, it's not always pretty. It isn't. But when it is, we're paying him, what, $2 million? Like, he's way outplaying his contract.
He's our Devontae Parker. Just $2 million. Why not?
Dude, think of how bad we'd be.
That car personally. That's what it was.
Yeah.
When you watch this team minus Maxey, if we didn't have Kelly Oubre, I'm not sure we break 70 most nights.
No, they're brutal on offense.
Buddy Hield, I love the deal immediately. He is horrible without somebody in the middle for defenders to gravitate to.
Yeah.
Now, again, you're right. When Embiid comes back, this is the most well-rounded team we've ever had. We have shooters, we have ball handling, we have slashers and Kelly Oubre. We're finally got it right. But without Embiid, it doesn't matter. I do think we'll be able to limp in, but I think we're destined to the play-in.
For the longest time, I was like, just stay out of the play-in. Just stay out of the play-in and you'll be fine.
Ship sailed.
I was going to say, that's like the Titanic being 500 feet from the iceberg and be like, just avoid it. It doesn't feel like it's a realistic possibility.
Start turning the wheel.
Just turn
don't hit it directly.
Come on. You can do it.
I don't think we're going to make it. I think we might scrape it. But you're right. Like the puzzle pieces just fit when they're healthy. Batum is such like he's a good shooter, great like post entry pass guy.
Yeah.
Maxey in the pick and roll with Embiid just feels unstoppable. And Oubre, like you mentioned, he has found his role in just being like a slasher around Embiid. But all these guys, like you mentioned, like, well, they do this when Embiid's there. When he's not there, they just look like fish who are floundering out of water.
Yeah.
But if he's there, the puzzle pieces make a ton of sense.
Yeah, you're right. It's a brutal matchup for whoever deals with in the play-in. My number one fear about going through the play-in is, one, anything can happen. I mean, Embiid's going to be fresh back, so we could get bounced in the play-in, which would kill me. But then even once you get through it, like, you know who you're going to see. Like, you're going to see Boston most likely in the second round, and I'm not ready to do that again. Like, I can't keep doing this. And this isn't the team to beat them. A healthy Sixers team might be the team, but we're coming in out of practice, out of shape. Like, I can't get spanked by the same Celtics team over and over again. Listen to their dumbass fans spout. I can't. I hate them more than the Cowboys. I really do.
I feel like I've seen the same avalanche at the TD Garden every time, where it's like 82-82 as the fourth quarter starts, and by like 3 minutes left in your fourth, you're like, what just happened? They go on like a 17-3 run. We make one shot and we just totally collapse. I'm just like,
you check your phone, all you see is Jason Tatum for MVP tweets. Like,
oh yeah,
what happened?
What happened?
But that's not how they beat us. Jason Tatum plays fine. It's some random fucking dude off the bench that suddenly becomes prime MJ against the Sixers.
Al Horford can't play anywhere else
this year. I'm already ready. I'm preparing.
Yeah.
You're right. Al Horford is to Boston when Nick Foles is to Philadelphia.
That's a great comparison. True. Even back like Terry Rozier would come in and go off on us. And then I don't even know. He was at Charlotte and you never heard from him again as soon as he signed that contract. Like all these guys, they go somewhere else and that's it. But yeah, I don't want to see them. I would like our chances against the Bucks, but maybe I'm just like scarred from having to watch Doc Rivers playoff games.
Dude, Doc Rivers in the playoffs, sign me up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'll play him. I know.
You know he'll blow it. Come on, guys. Come on.
That Bucks team, like they're not deep. Like they've got Giannis, they've got Dame, and Middleton's been out hurt too, so they got to get him healthy. But beyond that, like that is not a deep team. So it's one of the few times the Sixers have felt deeper than one of these championship contenders.
I know. We finally built the right squad. We just don't have the centerpiece. The lead singer, as Pat Bev used to say. But we do have the guy who we can always count on to be consistent every night. You know what you're going to get. He never lets you down. He's just horrible all the time. What has happened to Tobias Harris to where he's gone from frustrating to really just unplayable?
Great point, because I was about to say nothing's happened. He's the same person that he was. I think Elton Brand is probably like a really nice guy, and I'm sure he's like a loving family guy, and everyone loves him in the Sixers front office. If I ever saw him, it would take everything in my power not to punch him in the face for giving Tobias Harris that contract, because this is a disaster.
You better find him wrong. I think you forget how big Elton Brand
is. He's a big fella. I think I could outrun him.
He'd take his chances, though, for Tobias.
This contract has been an unmitigated disaster, but we've had so many unmitigated disasters along the way that we have not focused on Tobias. Like, you think about it, when you think back to that Hawks series, it was the fact that Ben Simmons couldn't make a free throw. The most essential thing in the sport. He couldn't do it. Passed up.
I like where you're going with this. Yep.
Tobias had 7 points in game 6.
Yep.
He was abysmal. He was terrible. He's been terrible in every playoff series. It just hides because someone else gets the blame. It's Brett Brown as the coach. It's Doc Rivers. It's Ben Simmons, like I mentioned. It's Harden. He's washed. He's past his prime. It's Embiid. Embiid's sick. It's his knee. Like, there's always an injury. And Tobias is able to hide behind all of these things. Now, all of those guys are gone, and he is in the spotlight, and people are like, oh, he doesn't do like anything really well on a basketball court.
No. And as soon as you started down that path, I was like, I'm really glad that he's doing this, because I was hoping somebody was going to. I mean, because people accuse Embiid of getting that same treatment of like, oh, well, he keeps losing the playoffs, but it's because of the other things, which is partially true, but he's always balled. Yeah. Nobody has ever put a spotlight on Tobias Harris and said, well, you were supposed to be a star. Like, he gets this attention nationally where, I mean, Stephen A. brought it up. Where it's like, yeah, what's the difference between a Sixers championship or second round exit? And he finally said Tobias Harris. I think he's the first one. because he's treated like a third option role player, and he's getting paid $180 million.
Yeah.
But no one looks at him that way.
No, like he was getting KD, Paul George money that offseason, or Kawhi Leonard, and he's not even like the third option on the team. Like last year, he was the fourth option behind Maxey, Harden, and Embiid. He like this
on this injured ass team.
Yeah,
he's the third option. Kelly Oubre is the second option on this team right now.
It bothers me for so many reasons that you would just think like from a pride point of view, he'd be like, I'm getting my shots up. Like I'm the star here. This is my time to shine with Maxey and Embiid. He just like fades into this abyss no matter who is on the court. That frustrates me. Beyond that, like I said, he doesn't do anything really well. He's an average defender. He doesn't really rebound that well. He doesn't box out. Like he doesn't hustle. He doesn't give you offensive rebounds. The charge thing has been
zero charge.
He hasn't had a charge since 2018. They went back and found the charge. He didn't even fall down. He actually, I don't know if you guys saw the clip. Somebody went back and found the last charge that he took. He didn't even fall down. He actually was just accidentally out of place, and the guy ran into him. So his last charge, he wasn't even really attempting to take a charge.
Yeah.
So like, it's like the piss poor effort on top of the fact that he's not a good defender to begin with, not a great spot up shooter. Aside from the post up moves, like he doesn't cut like Oubre does. He can't run the pick and roll like Maxey can. Like he doesn't do anything well, and it hinders them in so many ways.
He's a black void for the ball. Like the one thing you can count on is that if he touches the ball at 21 seconds on the shot clock, no one else is touching that shit until the 10 seconds.
Yeah, he doesn't
back down, and bail.
Yeah, if he takes that post up and then he never gets the reentry pass. He's either taking a contested shot in the paint or like kicking it out and then just standing there. And he just he'll just stand in the corner. He doesn't move. He doesn't set screens. He does nothing. He doesn't crash the boards. And it goes beyond just like him making star money. And you can be like, well, they could have had another star. That's not him.
Mm-hmm.
They traditionally, like we just talked about the Celtics, and it's like it's never Tatum. It's always some random guy. We never have the random guys because we're paying him $180 million and we have no depth. And we're like, please, George Niang, hold on for dear life on defense. We can only play 7 people in the series. Furkan Korkmaz, God bless him, not even on a team anymore, was getting playoff minutes against the Heat and against the Hawks. Like that was the solution for us, was Furkan Korkmaz. That's how bad the bench has been. Like Shake Milton, maybe he'll spark us in game
playoff
6.
Year,
nope.
Yeah, playoff hero.
Nope. But it's because
I think our
depth.
It's so bad, dude. But as soon as you said George Niang hanging on for dear life, I immediately did cut to him playing meaningful minutes just on absolute skates out there.
Yeah, you felt bad for him in that Heat series because they were just. Duncan Robinson mentioned that on a podcast. Like in the playoffs, they just headhunt whoever's the weakest link, and he was the weakest link that day in that series. I felt bad for him.
But I'll never have the same beef I have with George with Toby because he was always the first one, even if he didn't know why, he was throwing hands all over the court. Love that.
Yeah.
Talk shit. He hit some big shots, and we were paying him $4 million. He played the way he was being paid.
Yeah. And he would take charges. He would crash the glass. And it's like
George wanted all the smoke all the time.
Oh, all the time. He had 10 times the energy that Tobias had. And yeah, it's been a problem. Obviously, this offseason will be the end of it. Thank God. Like, I just can't do it anymore. He's frustrated me forever. But yeah, you're right. Like, I felt for a long time, this is the difference between them being a championship team and them being not. I'm not counting out this year. Just got to get healthy. He'll frustrate me no matter what. But if they're healthy, I still like the team.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call mental illness. But I share the same affliction. The Sixers might be the 7th and 8th seed, but I still think it's their year, baby. It's going to happen.
It's always their year.
It's always their year.
But their year.
As long as it's not their year, and as long as there's something to come on and complain about, we're going to make sure we keep having Aiden come back and do just that with us. So, Aiden, dude, thanks again for coming on. It's always a blast. For listeners who, for whatever the reason, you don't follow Life of a Philly fan, I feel like it's a common experience, and we all kind of do. But if you don't already, that's at Philly Fan Life on Twitter, and then the longest running Eagles Cowboys pod in human history, Birds vs. Boys, at Birds vs. Boys pod on Twitter. Aiden, thanks again, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love doing this, and like I said, this was at the right time. But if the Sixers do pull it off, we'll do like a post-parade celebration episode
my
for
God.
sure.
I'll see you at the parade, buddy.
Yeah, we'll do it live from the
on site.
All right. Till next week, this has been the Patterson Report. Thanks, everybody.